pale autumn of 1307. The air was cold, the sky leaden. In the damp, narrow streets of Paris, the shadows of the Knights Templar loomed longer and more menacing than ever. The Order's great castle in Paris hung over the city like a dark cloud in all its grandeur. Behind its walls, accusations of heresy and treason whispered into the ears of King Philip IV spread like a silent plague. Knight Amaury de la Roche was one of those who couldn't sleep that night. He was a man of steel will who had served the Order for 20 years and breathed the dust of the Holy Land. Yet the silence that had been creeping through the corridors of his castle in recent weeks felt more terrifying than even the bloodiest battlefield. Just a week earlier, his closest friend, standard-bearer Sergeant Antoine, had vanished. The official explanation was that he had traveled to Jerusalem on an important mission. But Amaury knew Antoine was a loyal man who would never leave without a trace. That night, the chapel inside the castle was closed. Its lock had been sealed by order of Grand Master Jacques de Molay. Rumor had it that the knights' heretical rituals took place here. Butamori walked slowly down the dimly lit corridor. Beside him was the young novice, Brother Luke, carrying a lantern. Luke was trembling with fear, as evident from the crackling of the burning oil. "Brother Luke," Amaury whispered, his voice low but firm. "Where was Antoine last seen?" Luke stammered in reply. "Commander, I last saw him going down into the cellars beneath the chapel. He had an old parchment map in his hand, one the Grand Master rarely used. The cellars, where the Templars kept their wealth, their secrets, and perhaps their darkest deeds." Amaury stood before the sealed chapel door. The papal seal, made of red wax, stood right in the middle, alongside the Order's seal. He drew his dagger, cut off the seal, and threw it away. "We're under cover of night, Luke. Don't say a word to anyone. If the king's men raid us tonight, you'll lie." Inside, it smelled of centuries-old lime and forgotten prayers. In the middle of the chapel stood a stone altar. Amaury remembered the rumors that the Holy Grail had once been kept here. He noticed an almost invisible scratch on the edge of the altar stone. He ran his hand over it and felt the stone move slightly. Together they pushed the altar stone aside. Beneath it, dark and decaying stairs appeared. "God protect us," Luke whispered, making the sign of the cross. The cellar was like a cold, damp tomb. The walls were stone, the floor wet and slippery. Amaury raised the torch in his hand. This was not one of the castle's known cellars. It was a deeper, older, forgotten section. They made their way down the corridor. A voice was heard from deep within, a low, muffled murmur. Was it a prayer or a moan? They reached a room. The room was larger than the others, and in the middle stood a single stone block. On the stone block lay a parchment, similar to the one Antoine had once carried. But more striking than the parchment was a dark shape piled on the floor against the wall just behind the stone block. Amaury approached with unsteady steps. The shadow was Antoine. His knight's armor was shattered, his chest covered in blood. But what took Amaury's breath away was the expression on Antoine's face. Pure terror, a frozen scream. "Antoine," whispered Amaury, kneeling down. Antoine's body was ice cold. Amaury took the parchment. It was sealed with his own Latin seal, the betrayal of Baphomet. Just then, Lutz's scream filled the cellar. "Commander, behind you." Amaury spun around quickly. From the dark corner of the room, a shadow emerged. It was not a human. It was a tall, hunched figure, its skin withered, wrapped in tattered cloaks. Its face resembled that of a goat. Its eyes glowed red and fiery in the torchlight. Was this Baphomet, the demonic entity said to be secretly worshipped by the Templars? Or was it the cursed state of a knight who had broken his oath? Amaury drew his sword. "Who are you, cursed creature?" The creature laughed with a hoarse growl. Its voice was like the wind blowing among the gravestones. "I am ... Heraclius. I am the punishment for those who break their vows. I am everything your beloved king accuses you of." Heraclius was the name of a legendary ancient being believed to have been brought from Jerusalem by the Templars, whom some of the order's founders had attempted to resurrect through heretical rituals. The creature extended its dry, clawed hand toward Antoine's corpse. Antoine ... he dared to see. He learned the curse on the parchment, the true secret of the order. "And now it's your turn, Amaury de la Roche." The creature lunged forward with incredible speed. Amaury swung his sword, but it cut through the cold air, not the creature's cloak. Luke stumbled backward in panic and collided with a stone pillar. The creature leapt onto Amaury, its claws tearing deep gashes into the knight's armor. Amaury pushed the creature away with his strength, but it was as slippery as a snake. "Knowing the secret ... won't save you," hissed the creature, its face dangerously close to Amaury's. "What will destroy you is your own greed and lies." Amaury felt his armor crushing him, his breath catching. With one last effort, he drew the blessed dagger from his waist and plunged it into the creature's fiery red eye. A terrifying scream echoed through the stone cellar. The scream was a mixture of a goat's bleat and a human's agonized moan. The creature staggered backward into the darkness, then dissolved as if made of air. Only a heavy, sulphurous smell hung in the air, and blood spurted from Antoine's body. Amaury lay on the ground, covered in blood. He struggled to grasp the parchment. He read the writing on it. "Those who break the sacred oath for gold and power shall bear the mark of infidel forever." This had been written long before King Philippa's accusations. The Templars did indeed have a secret, but it was not a treasure, it was a curse. Luke, Brother Luke, the young recruit, leaned against the wall in terror. His eyes were still fixed on the corner where the darkness had vanished. Is it over, Commander?" Despite the pain in his chest, Amaury stood up. "It's not over, Luke. It's just beginning. Burn this parchment. Put Antoine's body in a barrel and destroy it. No one must know about this cellar." What was that creature? Luke whispered. Amoros gazed with cold determination in the flickering light of the torch. He was the conscience of the Knights Templar, and conscience is more terrifying than the greatest injustice done to us. Amori and Luke secretly locked the cellar. The cold air outside was filled with the metallic footsteps of King Philippa's soldiers. Doors were being broken down. The end of the Knights Templar was beginning. Amori climbed the tower of his castle and looked up at the sky. Baphomet's curse now echoed not only in the cellars, but in every corner of France and the soul of every knight. And that curse would lead them to the fire.